everybody. Welcome to the inaugural grand premiere of the HYHO YouTube channel. It stands for Help Yourself, Help Others. My name is Sam. I am going to be hopefully your lovely host for a bunch of interviews to come in the future. I'm a sociologist and former researcher, and I wanted to use my sociological experience to talk to people and understand what they do, how they do it, and how you can do it at home. And I want to ask people what they think of social networks and micro charities and technology and how it all plays together to get people to go where they want to go and do what they want to do. So tonight I have my very first guest on the YouTube channel, my dear friend Valencia Canales. All right.
Hi, everybody.
All right. If you are tuning in with us on YouTube, if you comment live, we can see your comments over here. And if you have any questions, we can throw them in the stream here tonight. So let's get to it. Valencia, thank you for coming on the show. How are you doing tonight?
It's a pleasure to be on your show. Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm doing great tonight. I'm ready and excited for my interview.
All right. And so you told us there was a little thunderstorm and a bit of rain, or maybe a lot of rain where
Yeah,
you are.
well,
So
there's a lot of thunderstorm in this area, but a tiny bit of rain. It's more of a thunderstorm.
Okay, so just in case we see any lights go down and any spooky stuff happen, you'll know why if you're watching at home.
Yes.
All right, so Valencia, you're a good friend of mine. We've known each other for about a year or so.
Mm-hmm.
We got acquainted through a mutual friend through his Facebook community, and he does micro charities. His name's Wesley Peterson. You may have seen my previous interview with him live on Facebook. So we know a bit about him, but we don't know a lot about you. So can you introduce yourself for the guests tonight and tell them just a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Valencia Canales, and I have a bachelor's degree, double degree in political science and English, and I'm currently unemployed, but I've been a paralegal for the last 5 years. I also have a paralegal certificate, and I love the legal field, and I love politics.
All right. And so I've been following you and interacting with you for a while. I got inspired to want to talk to you because, well, you're extremely interesting and you have a very kind of upfront way you convey your beliefs. And I've watched you evolve from being a political supporter to now moving into your own trajectory towards running for office where you are. So let's talk about that for a sec. What was it like to be in your position back then and then coming to where you are now? So like, what's your interest in politics? What's driving you to make the decisions that you are today?
So the reason why I want to get into politics, well, I've always wanted to get into politics, but the reason why I want to do it now, I feel like our country needs more progressive leaders. Especially Latina, and especially in Texas. Texas is a very red state, kind of purplish at the moment, but I feel like it still needs a lot of work, and so I'm willing to help Texas out and become more progressive. So I want to do that for my state. Like, I love Texas. I was born and raised here, and the reason why I want to get into politics is because I believe in Medicare for all. There should be a guarantee, health care. Everybody should be covered, no questions asked, no means testing. So I want to push that in my state, but I also want to push that on the federal level, wherever, I can try to help. I want to help.
So is the drive to want to help become so big for you that now you're taking it upon yourself to think about running for office?
Yes. So the reason why I became into politics, I was born with a disability, and so I saw my parents struggle with insurance issues my whole life. And so I feel like no one should struggle with, trying to decide, should I help my child, between feeding the child or providing shelter for the kid. When Medicare for all should be already implemented, it should have been implemented since I was born, since the 80s, since the 60s. You know, this is not, other countries have it, so why can't we have it? So that's my main drive, because I saw so many struggles as I grew up with having a disability. And so that's the reason why I believe strongly on Medicare for all. Like, that should be the litmus test for any candidate that's running. If you do not believe in Medicare for all, I do not even want to hear the rest. Because
Okay.
it's more than likely it's nothing that is going to be progressive, in my opinion.
So, according to you, we need to move in a progressive direction in terms of politics for the United States. So, for those of us who are out there watching and we don't clearly understand what being a progressive is or what that stands for and how it's different from, let's say, the Democratic platform, could you take a little bit to talk to us about that and explain what does it mean to be a progressive, and how are they different from Democrats?
Yes, so the Democratic Party has really fallen away from the values of the progressive is, we believe in Medicare for all. We believe in legalizing marijuana. We believe in at least the $15 minimum wage. But by the time that's implemented, it should be already 20. There's stuff that the Democratic Party won't even give us. The Medicare for all is one of them. And I hate to be repeating myself, but that is such a basic thing that we don't have. Also, the legalizing marijuana is another thing that the Democratic Party does not want to give us. And let me see what else. I'm trying to think. I can't think right now.
It's okay. So those are a few things that the platform stands
Yeah.
for. Is there a way their ideology differs from Democrats then? Let's say, are progressives still liberal, but they believe in adhering to democracy in a way that really separates them from Democrats?
So I wouldn't call us liberals. We're more like leftists, I guess you could say. A lot of progressives identify themselves more with the leftists, label than a liberal label, because the liberal basically is fine with Biden, which I'm not exactly happy with that at all. And so if Biden gets elected, nothing will fundamentally change. He wrote the crime bill, and that has affected people of color, particularly Blacks and Latinos, and charging them with crimes that they should not be charged with, getting jailed, getting imprisoned for long periods of time. And so that's another major difference between the leftists and the liberals, or the progressives and the Democratic Party. They're not even wanting to defund the police. They don't even want to hear it from us. So, those are major differences. It's like the Democratic Party, they forgot where they came from. They have fallen. I guess it's already too corrupted. I don't know if we can fix it. I don't know if it's even fixable at this point. But if the Democratic Party is not fixable, we need a viable third party, because if not, the Democratic Party does not even want progressives in their party, or they don't, so it's a huge mess. And yeah.
All right. Well, I've got a friend here watching, Jason. Hi, Jason. Shout out to you. Thanks for tuning in. He's definitely not a liberal, so I'm sure he has some commentary he'll be leaving for us. So what I'm understanding from you then is maybe the Democratic Party is maybe fallen in line with like an established status quo, and whereas they may have moved towards
for sure,
it seemed like progressive ideals in the time, maybe they haven't they caught up to where it is now, or at least what people want now from if they wanted a Democratic government run by Democrats.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, the Democratic Party has basically, they bow down to their contributors, which are the lobbyists and the billionaire class. So,
We
they're
all got to
not
make that money, right?
caring much about the working class or even the
Okay.
non-existent middle class.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's what help.
Oh, we got a little bit of a lag going, but that's okay. We're still here. We're still rocking. You still there with me,
Can you hear me?
Valencia?
Yes, I'm
Yeah.
here.
All right. Yeah. All right. So, what are you're interested in running for office? Can you tell me a little bit about the position that you want to run for and why you chose that one and what are the requirements to reach that goal?
Yes, so I am wanting to run for state rep for Texas, for the district of 143 where I currently live,
Mm-hmm.
and um, so I wanted to start with Texas politics to get my feet wet to see how it would work running as a progressive in a very red purplish state. I know it's going to be hard. I know it might be impossible to even win, but you know what? I won't know until I try. So I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I'll start in, state politics before going more advanced, to see how I can handle it, to see if I'm able even to do any fundraising, because it's all
Mm-hmm.
small dollar donations. I'm not gonna, accept no corporations or lobbyists money. I don't even know if they donate in the state level. They probably do. I'm sure they do. But it's all small dollar donation, a smaller level of organization. So
Okay.
yeah.
And so, what does it actually take to become a state rep? Are there specific qualifications like age, education, experience?
Well, for the state rep, I didn't see any education requirements. I know there was an age requirement, and I'm thinking it was like 26, 27. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. When I did some research, I thought that's what I saw. And the person that I'm running against, she has been in the office since 2004, I believe. So, like I
Okay.
said, it's an uphill battle. She already is established. She's an attorney. So there's many things that I'm gonna be that's gonna go against me. But like I
Mm-hmm.
said, I'm not scared. Not scared of the establishment. I know she's deeply rooted into the Democratic Party, in local politics. So that is another uphill battle, I'm sure. But
So,
like I
although
said, I'm
she
not
might
scared.
be, yeah, that's wonderful, and I think having that power and, for lack of a better word, like tenacity to want to go up against that,
Yes.
that's admirable for anybody who wants to do anything with their life. There's always someone who's done it before us or they're successful at it, but we shouldn't use that as like predetermination that we can't do it ourselves. And so I support that endeavor for you. And I wonder, so in what year will you be planning on running? Is that 2022? Is that
It's
right?
2022, but in
Okay.
2021, I would need to start getting signatures. So the way Texas works, from what I've done my research, is you have to get signatures. It's either get signatures and to get on the ballot, or a combination of both. Pay, like, you have to get more. Like, I think, for example, it's like 5,000 signatures. So if you get 5,000 signatures, then you can get on the ballot. And
Mm-hmm.
but if you only get like maybe 2,500 signatures, again, I'm not 100%. Don't quote me on the amount of signatures,
Hmm.
but I'm just explaining how a combination is. and then you have to pay a filing fee, and I believe the filing fee was 5,000, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not
Okay.
sure again. Um,
Yeah.
I did research, and this was like months ago when I did research. I didn't write anything down, but it's still early. But also, I do have to get the signatures by like next summer. So in January, I'll start, getting all that together. And then you get on the ballot, and then in 2022 is when the primary is and the general election. So
Okay.
yeah,
Our friend
and
Jason here wants to know if you're going to run with any political affiliation. So,
I have no idea how that even works.
okay, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm
But I
fielding
mean, if it's
questions.
if it's a progressive affiliation, I would love endorsement from progressive groups. I'm not gonna
Mhm.
get anything from establishment. And you know what? That might even make it even more harder to win, but I will stick to my guts.
All right.
I'll stick to my
So
values, in other words, I should
there
say.
you go. That's all that we ask. So when you have to get these signatures and collect donations, let's kind of segue here and talk about kind of the technological aspect that comes with it. So one thing I'm really interested in talking about on this channel is how the power of people and how the power of technology bring people together to accomplish their goals. So have you thought about or researched different types of technologies that will get you to the donation threshold you need? And how do you acquire these signatures? Is it online? Is it in person? Can I mail something in? How can you speak to the tech and then the
So
signatures
so I know
and
the
fundraising kind of all
signatures.
together?
Yeah, so the signatures I know has to be in person. And I'm not sure if they can be like anywhere from the state of Texas or just your jurisdiction, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
positive, maybe like 75% positive that it does probably have to be from your jurisdiction, which makes sense because those are the people you're going to represent in Austin.
Mm-hmm.
And then the fundraising aspect, I want to get a website up, um, and hopefully I will get a Facebook page up. And I want to use just my progressive contacts, and hopefully, the friends that I do have on Facebook can help me out, but
Mm-hmm.
I'll be pushing for, small dollar donations, like I said, but it will be mostly online. I do want to do door by door, but it depends on the pandemic. I am not
Mm-hmm.
sure if we're going to be able, if that's going to ruin for us or what, but it'll definitely be phone calls, asking for votes, because I'm a firm believer asking for votes, not just taking it for granted that they're going to give me the vote without them even knowing who I am and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that, especially with the person I'm running against. So I I will definitely be asking for people's votes. I think that's just the way politics should be run. Um, and I know the Biden campaign does not believe in asking anything, any votes from anybody. So but progressives are different. We ask people to vote for us, We don't just take it for granted, and it shouldn't be that way. So
Well, I have heard the
definitely.
saying that ask and you shall receive, and I
Yeah.
believe in putting the vibes and feelers, however you want to interpret that, into the world. And it's definitely, well, first of all, if you're getting something started, rewatching at home, it's okay to ask for things you need and help, but definitely from your constituents, let you know that you value their
Yeah.
vote and their support.
Exactly.
So,
And that's how Bernie did it. So we need to
uh-huh.
follow his lead. He had an army out there, and I was, very happily, I love doing all that kind of stuff. I love going door by door and asking people, talking to people, asking for their concerns and stuff like that. And that's how you get to know what the constituents' concerns and things like that. So I love the way Bernie did his campaign.
So one of the great things he did was the ability to secure donations in very small chunks. So we're talking
Yes.
about donations from individuals and not taking large donations from corporations or lobbyists, if I'm correct. So how would you utilize that approach And what kind of technologies will enable you to do fundraising? Is it going to be like a Facebook platform? Will it be Patreon, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, definitely. I would use a website for sure. I would use Facebook, Twitter, anything that is a free platform. I will definitely take advantage of that.
Mm-hmm.
When you're running for such as, an office that you're not going to get a lot of donations, you have to use your money wisely. And so I will definitely be taking advantage of all the free platforms for sure. Getting a website established is the first and foremost number one thing that any person that is going to run for office should do. So that'll be one of my first things that I want to get established for sure.
So it seems like when you want to run for office, there's a number of costs, not just time and energy with people, but what kind of other like financial costs can you think of going along with running for office? So if you don't meet the filing fee, does that come out of your own funds, or
Yes.
you're paying for your monthly website? Are there other things that you have to pay for along the way, like campaigning
Um,
material?
Another thing that I would want to do are signs for homes, because I know that really helps out, especially with such a small area where you're asking people to vote for you. And so that would probably be a very expensive cost.
Mm-hmm.
Either that or maybe like door door hangers. We did that. My little Bernie group in Houston, we did that for Bernie, and that worked really well. So we all like pitched in some money, and we got some brochures together, and you basically just put the points and just get like to the nitty gritty so people can easily glance at it. And because when I feel like when it's longer, they're not gonna read it. So something shorter,
Mm-hmm.
something smaller, they'll read it and they'll know what you're all about. So those are
And I
kind of
think
things.
that's a nice idea, because when I drive through neighborhoods and I see signs supporting candidates, that to me is an awareness of a candidate, but that doesn't inform me. Even the color scheme might be a little hard to understand which side they're on, but it
Yeah.
sounds like the approach with door hangers with specific information on what the platform and what the candidate stands for is a really unique idea and unique approach. And I think you could be still successful with that, considering the coronavirus situation. I have people
Definitely.
still knocking on my doors, delivering the wrong food to the wrong place, and trying to fix my internet service for a provider I don't have. And I won't mention them because I'm not particularly enthused with any of my options, and I
Yes,
don't
I
like
know.
people selling me things at my door. So, but hey, it seems like they can do it. They're getting paid for it, so that would be great.
Yes, definitely.
All right. So, um, when you are going to run for office, you think about the things that concern not only you as an individual, but also things for your community, the bigger city, and the bigger statewide
Mhm.
levels. So, can you talk about what you think the most pressing political issues are, whether they be local to you or endemic of the state?
Yes. I think the most pressing issues are getting health care for everyone, and also the $15 minimum wage should probably already be 20 at this point. But I think those two should be like first and foremost. Congress should do something
Mm-hmm.
about those two. Even in the state level, even if we had in the state level, also if we didn't get Medicare for all, maybe at the state level, at least lower the prescription costs. There's so many
Mm.
diabetic people out there that have died because they can't afford insulin, which is ridiculous. The price is a lot of money. And so, especially with this pandemic, there's just so many suffering out there that, but I would say those two things should be at the at the very least, they should be uh, front and center in any politician's mind.
So, with the raised minimum wage, do you think a consideration for a control on the increase of cost of living in that area goes along with it? And if you do, how so? How are those related to each other?
So the cost of living goes up, even, and the minimum wage hasn't gone up at all in, like, I think it's been 20 years or something. I'm not
Mm.
exactly sure when they raised it up to 725. I don't even think it was Obama that did it, so I'm sure it was more than 15 years ago. And still every year the cost of living goes up, rent goes up, groceries go up, co-pays go up, deductibles go up for healthcare. Everything just goes up, but yet the minimum wage just stays the same. And I just feel like that's just ridiculous. So when people say, well, if we raise it up to $15 an hour, everything else is going to go up. Yeah, but everything has been going up for years. It just goes up
Mhm.
every year, but yet people are still making the same amount of money. People are working 2 to 3 jobs just to make it. People that have kids, they're suffering because daycare is so outrageous. eh, you know, so all these prices are still go up. I don't know if I answered your question correctly or what.
Yeah, and I'm thinking,
Okay.
since specific to Texas too, maybe some statewide issues that definitely affect us that don't affect many other states is we're a border state. We border with
Yes.
Mexico, and we also have a number of national disaster, or excuse me, environmental disasters that occur every now and then because we're near the Gulf and we get a lot of hurricane activity near Houston
Yes.
and Corpus
We're about to
Christi.
get two
So,
of them. So
so considering our geography close to the ocean and being close to Mexico, are there other things that you would need to think about in terms of the state rep level, like a stance on immigration, or what we can do to create better disaster response when people are affected by things like hurricanes?
yeah, so one thing that we need to get rid of is our governor. Our governor is a no good Republican governor that cares about uh big companies and giving them tax cuts and trying to lure them in here, and not helping immigrants at all. We need to create a pathway to immigration. Um, and Texas is not really doing a good job at leading on that. But I think Washington really would have the power on the whole immigration issue. There's a couple of cities here that are safe for immigrants, and stuff like that, but for the most part, I think it starts with our governor, and our governor has not done anything for that. So
And so, for people who aren't living in Texas or are not up to date on Texas politics, can you tell us who our governor is and a little bit about him and what we've experienced the last few months under his leadership?
yeah, so Governor Abbott, I don't even know how to pronounce his damn name. um, so he's been our governor. I don't even know how long he's been our governor. It's been a long while, but I just feel he doesn't do anything for us. I don't really follow him per se, but I know a little bit about him that I just feel we need to get rid of him. I don't know what else to say about him.
So, I know there's controversy with how state leaders have handled their response to the coronavirus pandemic. And one of the things that he kind of gets badgered on by some
Yes.
people in the state is the inability to create proper restrictions or regulations regarding mask wearing and social distancing.
Hmm. So
Some of our schools are trying to experiment with online versus not, for K through 12 schooling.
yeah, so he never really like shut down the state, and so I think that just has made it worse. So when your governor or your president does not believe in science, and they don't shut down the country, they don't shut down the state, it affects everybody. Um, but also with shutting down things, what they should have done is also give a UBI in the federal level, and then shut down everything. And we would have been probably more than likely done with this pandemic. But instead, this
Mhm.
pandemic is going to linger on for, I don't know, they're saying until a vaccine is created. We don't know when a vaccine is going to be created. Probably 2021, 2022. Who knows?
Yeah.
But our governor did do a poor job on, on leading through a pandemic. He didn't believe in even creating a I don't know if it would be a law um, or like a memorandum or what, in creating a mask for all. Everyone should be wearing masks. I've seen people that don't wear masks. I know in the city level, like our judge has been amazing. Um, but the governor doesn't really listen to our judge at all. So it's kind of hard when, two politicians are not really in the same page. And
Hmm.
he's, some schools are closing for like the fall. Some are going to open in 3 weeks. Like there's nothing that is equal at all. Like nobody's on the same page, which is crazy. If I had kids, I wouldn't even send them to school. Not during the pandemic. So
Yeah, we've been having
I
some
hope
different
parents.
regulations, like at the city level slash county level. Like when I check my phone for the updates around March and then again in June and the beginning of August, it looked like the state level was in conflict with what the local level wanted in terms of
Yes.
Austin, where part of Austin, if not all of it, resides in Travis County. And it seemed like the Austin slash Travis County area had a little bit more stringent regulations, not quite laws, but we did, I think, end up, and it might have been statewide. There was like a $250 fine for being caught without a mask or something like that. But
Yeah.
there were a lot of caveats to that. So if you were of this population or this age, or if you have a pre-existing condition, so there wasn't a big way to enforce it. You don't really walk around with a sign that says like, "Hey, I have all this." So I can see that there was a lot of strife between the local areas and the bigger area of Texas. But Austin, where I'm at, is relatively more liberal compared to the rest of the state of Texas.
For
Would you say
sure.
the same is? Would you say something similar exists in Houston as well?
Yeah. So Houston is it's kind of complicated, Houston, because I thought Bernie would have won Houston, but Biden did. So I've noticed I'm not originally from Houston, so I don't know how it was growing up here.
Hmm.
But I've been here like maybe going on 6 years. Yeah, roughly six, almost 6 years. And for what I've seen, it's a liberal city, but very democratic, with a lot of Republicans thrown in for good measure. It's
Hmm.
not really a progressive city per se. There's a lot of people that want the same things as progressive, but then they go and vote for like Biden or a Democrat establishment or something. So I want to say Houston's heading the way Austin is, but it's like a very slow thing. I know Austin's like super progressive. Well, for the state, it is.
Yeah, in comparison, yeah.
Yeah, in comparison. And so Houston is heading that way, but like I said, it's very slow. Um, but I think, well, because the millennials are the future and stuff. So I feel like in the future it will be the same as Austin, progressive, or maybe even more progressive. But right now we're not there for sure.
Yeah, we if we want to make that happen, I think work needs to be changing then.
Yes.
And that's kind of a little frustrating to not have the area where you live in be at the level that you desire it to be.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a lot of people in the United States, regardless of their affiliation, are frustrated with politics in their region or even at the federal level. So, what are some strategies or ways you might recommend, or we can talk about, where people can overcome their frustrations with politics, whether that be taking action or signing petitions? What are some strategies to overcome our frustration with the political climate or our candidates?
Yeah, so I would just say get involved as much as you possible. I know we're in a pandemic, so I haven't really been doing like a lot of involvement with the city right now. But right now, the since we're in a pandemic, I've been doing like a lot of phone banking. So that's things that you
Mhm.
can do at home with this pandemic. But I would just say try to get involved, volunteer. I've done some volunteer work here in Houston. This was before the pandemic. So if you want to change things, you have to get involved in your community. So, um, and it doesn't even have to be, you know, like so. Thing like you don't have to sacrifice a lot to get involved. I mean, just feeding the homeless, for instance, is something such a simple thing you can do, but it leaves a lasting impact on people and on the homeless, especially if you're trying to help them out.
Yeah. So if you want to work or be involved with direct action in terms of the ideas you mentioned, how does one actually do that? Do I go to my local candidate's website? Do I
Mhm.
find my local candidates? Do I make a phone call, send an email asking to volunteer? Like where is the hub where I need to go to let people know I want to become involved?
I would say join your local DSA, your Democratic Socialists. Um, yeah, your local DSA. So join them, and they have a lot of opportunities to do things. And but also, I would say know who your state reps are. Know if they're not progressive and you want progressive people in there. Yeah, and then if progressive is running, like we have Mike Siegel. That's a progressive that's running for I think 10. District 10, and that covers like Austin and stuff. Like do phone banking for him. I signed up to do phone banking for him, so I'll be doing that for the next couple of weeks, probably even months. Try to get him
Mhm.
elected. I help even if a candidate is out of state, you could still do phone banking. I
Mhm.
did like 5 sessions for Jen Perlman, and she's in all the way in Florida. So it's amazing with technology. We can do so much even from our home during a pandemic. So I would say just start there. If you want to help actual people, the library has a wonderful resource on volunteer opportunities. I was an ESL teacher with them
Mhm.
for months, and I loved it. I didn't have the time. So I had to quit eventually. But like things like that, it's just, trying to help each other out.
Nice. So when you try to overcome the frustrations, you want to get involved. And I kind of have an ongoing debate with one of my friends here about whether it takes one person, well, I wouldn't even call it a debate, a continuous conversation about does it take one person to make a difference or does it take a movement to make a difference? So how can one person at the individual level actually affect change around them in terms of politics and what changes we'd want to see in our local areas?
Well, I mean, I feel like we ourselves can make a difference, even if it's just one individual. Um, and also a movement. I mean, it can be both. It doesn't, I don't believe in the whole I'm just one person. I can't like do a lot, or I can't help millions of people. But if you even help like one person, I mean, I think that's an amazing thing to do. It's just, um, I mean, it's impossible to help the whole world, or to solve the whole world's problems. I wish we could, but I mean, just starting with one person is good.
I totally believe that. I'm of the mind that it takes one person a million times, 1,000 times. It always just takes the one person first. And I really think that we can affect change around us by living as the example we want to be, not to be like so cliche and say, be the change you wish to see in the world. But I really do believe that. I think that people don't really make themselves necessarily based on what they read, what they consume, but how they see other people acting and how other people live. So I think it's really important to like find your truth and what you believe in and what you want to stick to, and to live that out every day, and to be kind to the people around us, right?
And and also educate yourself. That is a huge thing. Like read books, read anything you can get your hands on. The library has a wonderful resource of free books. Take advantage of that. I love to read, and that's how you gain knowledge of things around you, about poverty around you, and the world around you, and in our country. And I just a huge advocate of educating yourself, and that does not mean to go go to university. You don't have to go to university to educate yourself. So just read, read, read. That's what I would say. That's what I do myself.
I think people could benefit from reading more, definitely.
Definitely, yes.
Yeah. And I kind of want to segue here and kind of ask like this burning, maybe curveball question. I didn't let you know in advance, but like something that's really on my mind. So when people run for office, sometimes I see it's not about the issues, but is that the right term? Mudslinging is. I hope that's not offensive to anybody, but where you're just talking about your opponent and the things they're doing wrong. Is that a good tactic? How would you respond to it? Do you think it's the most conducive? So what are your thoughts to, the ad hominem attacks on people and how they eventually influence politics?
So I feel that we should not attack anybody like by the color of their skin, like they're doing to Camila right now. Like, let's attack her policy, her platform, the way she was in California, that she was, I think it was, she was an attorney general or something, or a prosecutor, I believe, in like the local level. And so she locked up people that were never supposed to be locked up for marijuana charges, or just trivial things, or the children. Let's attack that, like those issues, not her, not the way a person dresses or the way a person looks. Like, none of us are perfect. We all you know all have flaws. So I am the firm believer of attacking platform, policy, the way the person did or did not do, or passed something through law, or did not pass something through law, things like that. Let's attack that, and not a person per se. So yeah, I'm definitely, I don't like racism at all. So I know there's a lot of that right now going on, because with Camila, she's mixed race. But there's just so much more we can attack. Why are we being such ugly people and attacking a person, off the color of their skin? No, like, I feel like that's not a good tactic. Um, and I'm not even sure if it's the progressives doing it. I think it's more of the Republicans that are being ugly to her, because we should know better than that. So yeah.
So if you were like going live for a debate with your opponent and it resorts to Valencia did this, Valencia is this, we don't like Valencia, blah, blah, blah. If you're live in the moment, how do you redirect that energy instead of getting back into the same kind of like game there? I know that's happened, I feel, a lot to Bernie when he was running. And I didn't keep up on all the debates and everything to fully understand how he responds to things like that. So I can attest to that, audience. But are there any learnings? So if you're in that situation and someone's slinging the mud at you, what would you do? What would you say? How would you handle that?
I would redirect it to a policy issue. For instance, I would do research on the policies that she has passed or hasn't passed, things that didn't help the people, things that maybe were only good for the the people that donated to her, like the establishment. I know there's a couple of lobbyists that she takes money from, and so things like that. That's what I would redirect everything to, back to my opponent. And I feel like
Mm-hmm.
Bernie, he does that, but it's not as because he's not a vicious person, and so a lot of people think he's weak. Um, I don't think he's weak. I just feel like he doesn't have a mean bone in his body. So I feel like he should have attacked Biden more in that last debate that we had, but he didn't. And you know what can we do? It just uh, that's how it was. That debate, and so we can't we don't know why he didn't do it or why he did certain things. But yeah, I would always redirect back to the platform, back to the policy changes, or anything that she did not help the constituents, and that would maybe
Mm-hmm.
earn me some points, hopefully.
Yeah. And you have to hopefully, if you're coming from a place where you're the new person and you are discussing someone else's past tenure in the position, people are just going to have to kind of rely that you've done your homework and know the opponent well.
Definitely.
So that I feel like excuse me, that's bad. People would be kind of apprehensive always to support a new candidate because the new person in town, you don't know what they're all about. So kind of going back to like networking and your social group and the people helping around you, what is a better way that you can build trust for you and what you stand for, and build trust that you are going to be consistent in your promise to the issues instead of doing
Yeah.
what your opponent is doing that you are not a fan of.
Yeah, well, it's kind of hard to, build trust on something that you've never been, because you don't know. I mean, those people, the constituents, are not going to know how I am until if I ever get elected, and get to Austin. So it's kind of hard to say, but I do know that I can ask for their vote, and hopefully they can trust me. I can talk about why I'm doing it, and the reason why I'm running for something. And so that's the only thing you can do. It's like I said, it's very hard to build trust. I mean, it's like with Bernie. How are we gonna know if he's gonna be an amazing president until he gets elected? Stuff like that. It's hard. But I would still, I guess, because I don't have any political experience. So it's very hard for me to say I'm going to do this, this, and that, and then, you know, them to believe me that I actually am going to follow through. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how, that would play out, like earning their trust.
So, do you think there's activities you can do while running for office that help build trust with the community? So, are doing public talks a
Yes,
thing?
definitely.
Greeting people at the farmers market? I don't know. I haven't run for office myself, right? So,
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'm pulling at straws here. So, what other kind of maybe building trust exercises are possible to take you from you don't know who I am to now you know what
Yeah.
I'm all about, and you have built that rapport and familiarity to warrant putting your vote behind me.
Probably like volunteering in the community more,
Mm-hmm.
getting my name out there. That would probably begin to build something, a relationship with the constituents. Maybe creating like some fun day at the park or something. I mean, I've seen politicians do that, but I don't want to see, like, I don't want to come off also as ingenuous, because that's not the type of person I am either.
Hmm.
So it's kind of hard to say what I would do, but I would love to, like, maybe create like a town hall or something, for the constituents for 143 that I'm gonna run. So that would probably be like the beginning
Yeah.
thing, to create like a small town hall and have people come and ask me questions, and it would be just an open book, open dialogue between me and them. And so, like, that's something like I would be willing, wanting to do actually. So, um, to get
So do you think
people
with a
to know who you
Texan?
are.
Okay,
With what?
good. When you're a Texan, do you think a good way to buy a vote is to give someone barbecue? Does that work? I
I
have to
mean,
throw it in there because we're in Texas, and I think Texas has the best barbecue.
we do. Politicians have done that in the past, so I don't know, maybe so. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, politicians would come to my town, like, and asking for our vote and stuff, and they would give us free food. So maybe it does work, but I don't
So
know, because that seems,
maybe have some barbecue in your platform. I'm not an
yeah,
expert advisor, but I'm just thinking here, just
that's funny.
brainstorming with you.
Yeah. I mean, food
Oh,
always helps. I remember in college, when somebody was running for something, they would, give us things. So, but
yeah.
like I said, I don't know if that looks so disingenuous. So I would probably start with like a town hall event or
Oh, okay.
something. Yeah.
And so I'm thinking when you run for office, you're not only speaking to adults in your community, but you're also being a role model to youth out there, saying this is what I think proper conduct looks like, and I'm going to give you the free barbecue to influence you in the future. So when you think of your most pressing issues in the area, you said you wanted Medicare, and the other one you mentioned, remind me of that again. Medicare for all were on your
Legalizing
platform.
marijuana, legalizing marijuana, the $15 minimum wage.
Minimum
I would
wage.
also want to get some legislation in, that helps people of color not get locked up. So kind of like defunding the police, things like that. Um, that would be a huge thing, but I don't know if that would even be, passed in purple Texas. I know
Yeah.
Austin had something like that, that they were wanting to defund the police, but I'm not sure if it went through or not. So
Yeah. So when those, I would say 3 out of the 4 of those things sound like things that are palatable to people. But if we're thinking about the influence of kids, how do you advocate for, let's say, marijuana legalization and legislation for it? And what kind of line do you tread when you think about the youth that are watching? So would it be a platform that's like, okay, there's still good drugs and bad drugs, using that dichotomy, or are you thinking of amplifying it in a way that's medicinal? So how can we get like parents on board if they wanted to support that, and while still being like a good role model for the youth? Not that I think you're a bad role model if you support one thing or the other, but there's obviously a lot of pushback with that. Like, what about the kids? You know?
yeah. I'm not sure how that would go. I know, millions of people believe in legalizing marijuana. This is not even I don't know, there's not really a lot of pushback on that. There's pushback from our Congress of not making it happen, just like the Green New Deal that they're not wanting to pass.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure if there would be a lot of pushback in the community. I don't know how that would work. Um, but I know you know, we have legalized beer and alcohol, to 21 years old, and studies have shown, I'm not 100% sure, don't quote me on this, but
Mm-hmm.
studies have shown that Alcohol is way worse than marijuana, so I don't understand how we still have not legalized marijuana, you know, as a country. Because I know states have done it in a state level, but it's not federal. In a federal level, we don't have it done, and I don't. And Texas hasn't done it either. So, um,
Yeah, so looking at the map of places that have legalized on various
mhm.
levels, it looks like the West Coast, the California coast area definitely leads it in terms of the loosest regulations. So they have recreation available. And then as we move towards the southeast of the country, we have more stringent regulations or a lack of legalization at all.
Yes.
I mean, even Oklahoma has legalization right now, and we do not, which I found really surprising.
Yeah.
Um, Oklahoma was like the last state to legalize tattooing about 17 years ago, from what one of my tattoo artists there told me.
Yeah.
So I find it interesting about how we think about this issue, given kind of like some, how would I call it, historical remnant of conservative policy in the southern United States.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I just I mean, because I know medical marijuana is really a good positive thing, but I feel like, we're still not there as a country in legalizing marijuana. Just a lot of states I know have also legalized the medical aspect and not the like to use it for medical purposes and not just and not recreational uses. So like all these states have different requirements of how to use the marijuana. It's just it boggles my mind. Uh, it just I don't know. I just feel like it's not a dangerous drug, but like I said, I'm not a scientist, so
Mm-hmm.
but I know that people have people that have studied this, they have said alcohol is way worse than marijuana. I'm not sure. Um, so yeah.
Yeah, there's a number of studies about it. I don't think there's quite enough that we need to fully influence everybody to be on board with it. And
Hmm.
I'm not giving an opinion of support or not, but I just think that the way, let's say, scientific research laws and funding have been over the past 20 plus years, we haven't had enough time to put all the knowledge under our belt. And I feel like some people are hesitant to do that.
Hmm.
But I don't know, the legalization issue state by state is interesting to see. But I was interested in seeing how having that part of your platform would affect like your perception with the public, and how the
Yeah.
kiddos think about it and everything.
Yeah,
Um,
and maybe I would get more young adult votes than parents. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of hard to say, especially in a very purple state. What would the reaction be from parents? Maybe they would think that I was this bad person. I don't know what to think or what they would think. So
Yeah, and you have to think about, do I want to appease an older demographic versus a younger demographic? But even if you decide, there's still the issue of division within that age group. Maybe
yeah,
some young people are really against and some young people are for it. But
for
I
sure.
can, in my perception here, it doesn't seem like the marijuana legalization is like the issue you're most passionate about. So if I'm not mistaken, it's the Medicare for all, right? So
Yes.
if there's one thing you'd like, or a few things, I guess, that you'd like to say about that issue you're passionate about, Medicare for all, what can you tell us about it for people who are uninformed? What even is Medicare? What does Medicare for all mean? What are the costs involved with it, etc.? So if you could take some time to educate us about
Mhm.
your favorite passion here in politics, I would really love that. And I hope our viewers would appreciate that lesson too.
So in the federal level, Medicare for all would would include everything. It's not the traditional Medicare right that we have right now implemented. Because the traditional one does not cover so many things. They don't, they don't cover hearing aids, they don't cover dentures. And you have to pay uh, a lot on prescription costs, things like that. But the one that Bernie wrote and includes everything. It includes prescription costs. It includes long-term care. So if you're caring for your elderly parent, it includes all that, and it includes dentures and hearing aids and eyeglasses. So that is something that I would want to bring, but like in a state level. And I know it's already out there. It just hasn't been passed in Texas. Um,
Mhm.
but there is a bill out there already written, and so that would be something that I would read more into and make sure it's the bill that we're wanting to pass. Um, the way it would be funded in a federal level would be taxing the rich, the 1%. And so that would actually cover for everybody, not just, the elderly. From 0 months from when you're born until the day you die, you would
Mhm.
have free healthcare, and so there would be no copays, no deductibles. It would just be covered by taxes for the 1% though. So it's an amazing thing, and it's an amazing bill. And the people that have done research on the costs and stuff, they have said that we would save billions of dollars. I'm thinking it's trillions. I'm not sure how much the amount is, but it's like a super high amount where the country would be saving so much money per year. And so, especially for the long term, because the boomers are already getting old and they're a large population. And so that would help out the boomers population the most, because it includes nursing home care or nursing care at home too, also long-term care, like I said before. I'm not
Mhm.
sure how it would be funded in the state level. I would need to do more research on that aspect, but I know on the federal level it would be taxes from the 1%. But if we get it passed in the federal level, that's even better for states, because the states don't have to pass their own version of it. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's the Medicare
So,
for all.
and by all we mean all people, regardless of pre-existing conditions, right?
Yes, pre-existing conditions would not matter.
Okay, here's a perhaps controversial question.
Yes, I
If
know what it is.
you, all
I
right,
think I know what it is.
okay. So that works for American citizens, right?
Yes, I am not sure if it works for illegal immigrants, but I'm thinking it's naturalized citizens also, people that have their green card, like they say. It would be covered for them. I'm positive. But I'm not sure about the illegal immigrants. But in the perfect world, they wouldn't be illegal immigrants because they'd be already citizens. Because
Yeah, it'd
then,
be a
because in a
no.
perfect world, we would be passing a pathway to citizenship. So,
Uh-huh.
yeah, that would be another one thing that I would want to get passed.
So with Medicare for all, I'm wondering if, let's say, right, it's a government program, it picks up the bill for the cost of healthcare coverage. More money will be spent on healthcare because maybe people are going to the doctor more and actually being treated for things because, we just don't do it because we can't afford it sometimes in the
Yeah.
United States. So when we think of insurance companies or doctors, insurance companies, not the right thing, but actual agents of medicine, so hospitals, doctors, your quick cares, do you foresee a problem if, let's say, the government foots the bill for healthcare coverage? Are you worried about those agents of health increasing their prices to capitalize on it? Or do you see there being other legislation to create maybe a more fair pricing schedule for
There would
things.
probably be a pricing schedule implemented, and I would not even be surprised it's already in the Medicare for All bill. I haven't read the whole thing. I've read like excerpts of it,
Hmm.
all the main stuff, but I'm sure they've thought of that. I don't think it would, because a lot of people have said it'll clog up our healthcare system. I don't think it would, because you're going to have access to your own personal doctor. So ERs,
Hmm.
I think, would actually, they wouldn't have such a big burden, because right now, when you don't have healthcare, where do you go to? The ER. And so a lot of people are just going to the ER instead of, having a primary care doctor, which everyone should have access to. They don't. And
Yeah.
so that would elevate, that would really help hospitals out in the long run. Maybe in the first year, I think it would take adjustment to it, because, there's going to be, um, faults like there's going to be flaws everywhere. But I'm
Hmm.
sure once the years go on, it would be more flawless, and it would also help with preventative care. So we wouldn't have people just dying because, they didn't get insulin, or they didn't have access to a primary doctor, or they didn't have access to some medication that they should have had access to.
Hmm.
And a lot of people would be more productive, be able to be more productive citizens, um, in here in this country. And so I think for everybody it would work out good, because we would have a lot of preventative care before person, like for instance diabetes. So if you can get preventative care from an early age, like if you have obesity issues, you maybe go to a dietitian and get that under control, and go to your doctor, and you would be able to see your doctor more frequently than maybe just once a year or something, or not at all. So it has a lot of positives. I think the positives more than outweigh the negatives. The insurance companies would not be in existence anymore, so that would also help hospitals with billing issues. I know a lot of doctors and nurses, they complain about, that's, the majority of their work. And well, I wouldn't say the majority of their work, but maybe for the nurses
Hmm.
probably is. But for the doctors, doctors want to spend more time with the patients, and they're not able to. So I feel like with this implementation, it's, for everybody, and you wouldn't have to go through insurance companies. And then another thing also, if you have, cancer or something, you can get, you know, access to a cancer doctor more quickly. There wouldn't
Hmm.
be such a holdup. Because right now, like, to see any specialists or anyone besides your primary physician, you have to get authorization from the insurance companies. And so insurance companies can take weeks. If you have an
Hmm.
aggressive form of cancer, you're really risking your life. And so with the
Yeah.
Medicare for All, you don't have to go through any third party to get authorization. Your primary physician should be able to transfer you, to get more healthcare with your oncologist, which is your cancer doctor. And so in the long run, it would help, and it would save people's lives. A lot of people would not die needlessly, which they
Hmm.
are now. So with this current implementation, that does not work at all. And also,
And I,
healthcare should never be tied to a person's work, ever.
yeah, that's what some of us are hoping for. Other countries have adopted, what do we call it? Socialized medicine. Is that the
Yes.
proper term for it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
socialized medicine. Mhm.
Yeah.
This
And,
is slightly different because the
okay.
hospitals would still stay the same. It's just the insurance access. That's all it is. And that's why, like, I don't understand why people freak out, because they're all like, oh, it's going to be socialist. We already have many socialist programs here in the United States that we haven't, that people don't realize,
Hmm.
and so let's get Medicare for All implemented and help people out. It shouldn't be such a foreign thing to even think about. or even we shouldn't even be opposing it. Like nobody should be opposing it at this moment. So especially with the pandemic going on.
So we have a pretty lively commentary going here on the live, and I
God.
appreciate I appreciate critique.
Oh God, I'm so nervous now.
No, my friend Jason raises an interesting point to make it think about. If we and this isn't what he said, but I'm thinking along something he said here. If we have a lot more people going to the doctor, are we going to have enough doctors to go around? And med school is hard and it's expensive. So
Yes.
in order to enable these health pursuits, we need to change other things to accommodate that. So we would probably need more doctors,
Yes,
and more programs to train the doctors, and dare I say, affordable programs.
I think.
So
Well,
what other changes would need to help to get to this level, right?
yes. So Bernie is smart because because this Medicare for all would probably lead to colleges free and graduate programs, especially when we need doctors. Because a lot of people are not going. They're saying that we're going to have a shortage of doctors in the next 10 years. So that is
Mm,
something that concerns me. But I think we can. Um, get people to get into medical school, um, that are interested in science that maybe they would not go if we implemented free college for all, free graduate
mm.
programs, and maybe more scholarships and stuff like that. That's another thing that we need to also be thinking about as a country. We definitely need college, like, to be free. Like, we're the only country that does not do that. I don't understand. We're so backwards. The more I talk about our country, the more I realize how backwards we are.
I'd say we're definitely different from other countries, and we all have our opinions on how we think things should go. And
Yeah.
we're working with like a decent sized population. I think we're around hovering at 350 million or so, maybe a little bit more than that last time I checked.
Hmm.
I can only imagine how enacting large scale change in places like India and China, where they have billion, their population numbers are in billion, how that would go. So maybe there's
Yeah.
some hope for us with having a smaller population and getting
Well,
towards agreement.
the millennials are not having children, so we'll be okay.
Yeah, because we're
We can't
looking for
afford
jobs.
it.
Yeah, we've got student loans to pay off. People aren't hiring.
Exactly.
Um, you know, I've got a friend, and we talk about whether or not um, we could implement something for like young entrepreneurs. So
Hmm.
besides college being the only pathway to success, well, I think
Yes.
it's great to have knowledge and stuff. Being on the other side, I taught at university for several years. We have to currently, for some programs, you take your general ed, you broaden your horizons, and then in 2 years at the end, like junior, senior year, you're specializing in that same place. But we're
Yeah.
spending a lot of money on degrees that aren't paying out for the jobs we signed up for with that. I can't just Google like $1 million paying sociologist gig and find it. That's not happening. So while I think education should be an option for as many people who want to take advantage of it, I think there should also be other pathways too. So I think it'd be great if we could teach kids more about the money system, in terms of how can you make it on your own outside of that. Like, what if you want to be an entrepreneur? What if you want to be having your own business, and how to uh, kind of get children ready for the economic realities of the world once they come of age.
Hmm.
So, do you have any kind of thoughts about like alternative pathways outside of college for kids?
Definitely.
Could
Oh
we
yeah.
maybe incorporate that into education at younger, or make some programs to um, fund those kids or provide grants for kids who have ideas and want to get started early, and they're like, I'm not cut out for math and English, but I'm really good at da 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 da, and I know it right now when I'm 13.
Yeah, I'm a strong believer in trade schools, apprenticeships, community colleges. Even what you're saying, like if you're interested in, getting your own business together, I'm a huge advocate for all that. Like, it's not just university. I mean, you don't have to go to university if that's not for you. It's not for everybody. And it's okay. You know, you can do what you want to do, but I feel like, yeah, we need to also, when we're doing the, passing legislation that talks about college for all, we're also including other alternative, um, you know, alternative schools, and which is like community colleges, apprenticeship
Uh-huh.
programs that should, be funded by maybe the federal government, things like that. But also, this leads to the pathway of funding schools correctly, high schools. In high school, maybe getting started with apprenticeship, like if you're interested in, saying, being an electrician or something, start that program like in high school, with finishing maybe your first 2 years getting your basics, and then like your last 2 years doing like an apprenticeship through the school, and that would be like all covered through the school. So by the time you finish high school graduate, you can already be earning, amazing money, because electricians make a lot of money. Also, plumbers make a lot of money, and those are all, um, sorry, those are all, what was I going on this? Those are all trades that are very important to, to have, and to get, to have the young people, be interested in. Also, it's, so that would be another thing that I would, I'm a huge supporter of. I definitely am. So
I definitely support the trades, and I support the arts too.
yes.
It feels like we always are in need of someone who can, quote, do the dirty work. So we need
Yeah.
the electricians, we need the plumbers, we need people with those specialized skills.
Yes.
And I went to a unique high school situation where I don't even know and didn't hear from people around me. We had no shop or home ec or things like that. We had no way to like learn trades besides like tech theater, but we went and did a lot of art stuff. It was an arts program.
Yeah.
So I wish that I could see more um, in the high school education system, even middle school education system, just teaching children to learn trades too for self-sufficiency, like I would like to know how to build a thing. I would like to know basic operations of a car. I would like to
Mhm.
know how to cook my food. I would like to know how to fix my toilet. And
Yes.
I think we've separated knowledge into these kind of what we call, leisure knowledge. It doesn't maybe directly impact your understanding of English literature, but what can I
Mhm.
learn that will help me day to day with my life? And
Exactly.
I think we need to build respect for that too.
Yes, definitely.
Back when I was working in a different industry, it was so hard to find tradespeople because there just weren't enough for what we needed to do. And they're able to make great wages, but we don't have enough support for people to be able to go out and pursue those careers either, in my opinion.
Yeah, we don't. We have a shortage. They're saying in the next 5-10 years we're gonna have a shortage of plumbers and like all the specialty trades, because so many people, the millennials specifically, we were taught our whole lives, go to a 4-year university, get educated so you could, do better than our parents and stuff like that. When in other words, our parents did way better than we're doing at our age. So I'm a huge believer in also implementing all those in the high school level, changing tires, all this like basic stuff that people don't know, checking, your car and stuff like that, doing your own taxes. These are all like stuff, because I feel like school, they teach so you can take a test. That's basically what it is.
Yeah,
And
we
we
have that
don't,
teach to the test mentality too.
yeah, we do. And we don't have also the adequate funding in our public schooling, and that is a huge thing, a huge burden on teachers. I have uh, relatives that are teachers, and they have to, dish out all this money for basic supplies be that should be given to them, by administrators and stuff. But there's not enough funding. I mean, our federal government basically has defunded our schooling systems, which is sad, and given more money to police. So I'm a huge advocate of funding schools more, defunding the police less, giving less funding to the police and more to the schools, and getting rid of tests. I, I feel like tests, learning to get to tests is not a good thing. Common sense leaves, because you're just basically focusing on the test. You are not able to think critically. All those are missing from people nowadays. So
Yeah, we with the way we fund education at the local level, if it's in part due to property taxes, there's a big disadvantages between neighborhoods, and you'll find that the schools that are in wealthier neighborhoods tend to have better academic outcomes because they have more money to buy supplies or to compensate their teachers at an appropriate level, and you have access to different types of extracurriculars that can help, guide the learning. And then what you find in the lower income neighborhoods where funding isn't as high and as great, students are taught to learn and repeat, and more so being molded into a worker bee type situation. And there's a wonderful article. I can remember the author, but not quite the full title. It's by Anion from 1980, called The Hidden Curriculum. And it talks about all the different ways that local funding for the schools through neighborhoods helps stratify, or excuse me, it contributes to the stratification of students and how well they do. And then you'll find that economics tend to reproduce racial segregation issues to some extent, because you'll find racial ethnic minorities are concentrated in certain neighborhoods, and coincidentally the property taxes aren't enough to fund those areas, and they're not what they should be. So just an interesting read out there if anyone is a fellow academic and likes reading sociological work or whatever. Do you want to read some more? It's a great article. I recommend it. And so
that's very interesting about taxes in rich neighborhoods. They get taxed more, and also it leads to better schooling systems. So, and giving less to the poor.
Yeah, it definitely creates differences and inequalities there. Everybody's looking for a greater solution. Well, I don't want to say everybody. Some people are looking for a better solution, but it creates differences. That's the fact of the matter, and whatever connotation we want to put behind it, like positive or negative, that's up to the individual to decide. I have my own beliefs about it, right? But and you as well, so they might be drastically different. And hello to our other co-star over there. How's he doing tonight?
Lucky. I guess he's
lucky.
Mad.
Oh yeah, he gets riled up about the issues too.
Well, there's a dog barking outside, so
yeah. Okay. We're happy to have Lucky on the show tonight as well. Yeah, we're very happy to have you, Lucky. Thank you. You're such a sweetheart. Oh, nice. What does Lucky have to say about running for office, right?
He's gonna be my little.
What I think I'm learning from him is be loud, be assertive, be strong with your voice. That's what I'm understanding from him.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. So it seems like he's got a lot to say. I think we should have him on the next interview for sure. And he can make a special appearance with us, you know, ask him about a dog's life, hashtag rough life.
Right. I wish I had a dog's life. It's so easy.
Yeah, right. So thinking about a dog's life and our best life, do you have any final words of encouragement or a message to youth who may be watching, or anything else that you'd like to add to our lovely discussion this evening?
I just feel like we should all get involved, do our part and just try to understand, do your research, and read more. And so, yeah, just get involved with your community out there.
All right, get involved, do some research,
Yes,
educate yourself, read some more books. All right. Well, Valencia, thank you so much for being on the show tonight. It was a pleasure having you as our first guest for the channel. And for those of you that tuned in and watched, thank you. I appreciate looking at the comments, and I hope that even if we don't all agree, there's something that can be taken away from this to help you nurture your future pursuits, whatever that would be. And if you learned something from us tonight, I appreciate it. And if you feel like tuning in, we will be going live in the future with future interviews with HYHO. And if you like what you see, give us a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, or feel free to subscribe. All right. Once again, Valencia, thank you for being on the show tonight, and you have a blessed night, okay?
Bye, everyone. It was a pleasure.
Bye, everybody. Have a great evening. Thank you.